Hello everyone, welcome to the next session on SAP UI5. In the last class, we have given a closure to our SAP UI5 chapter. From today's class, we will start with SAP Fiori. We have seen in the last session what SAP Fiori is all about. It's all about user experience. We have seen the advantage of using SAP Fiori. Couple of advantages were listed: responsiveness, device support, platform independent, browser support, coherent nature, integration, open standard, and documentation. So in this session we will start with our first Fiori application, and we all know by the libraries which we have so far used in SAP UI5. SAP.m library is responsible for creating the Fiori application. So we will go ahead and create an application using SAP.m library. So let's get started with our first Fiori application. So what I'm going to do is I come back to Eclipse and I will create a new project. So I right click on the project explorer, choose new and select project here, just the way you used to create UI5 project. And now we will give the project name, say My Fiori app, and this time we will keep SAP.m checked. Okay, SAP.m is the mobile library for SAP UI5 framework, which allows us to create the mobile controls and mobile app. We also go ahead with creating an initial view. So we'll say next, and now we will give the name of the view as main view. So that's what we're creating. We are creating a main view along with it. Okay, so let's go ahead and create this main view. It's a JavaScript view. Click on finish. You will see system will now create a new application with the name called My Fiori app, on the same way the way we have seen the other application. Now what is the difference between a normal UI5 application and a mobile application? The main difference is a mobile application contains something called a container. Okay, so you have typically an index.html, and under this index.html earlier we saw directly we were putting a div tag. So in the HTML body we had something called a div tag, and inside this HTML body div tag we were actually creating a view in the SAP UI5, right? That is what we have seen in the last things. Let me add a border here. Yeah, so this is our div tag in HTML body, and in this we were creating earlier a view directly. But as far as the mobile application is concerned, you will not have a view inside. Instead, you are going to have something called a container. This container is known as app. Container control. This container control can be an app control, can be a split app control. Okay, this is what you are going to have additionally in a mobile device. A container control which contains your views, Now this container control has an aggregation property called pages. Just like you saw the table control. Table had an aggregation called rows, columns. Similarly, this has an aggregation called pages. And in this pages aggregation, we are going to add the array of views. So that is what we have, a container control, and it has an aggregation property called pages. In the pages, we are going to add the views. So now we are going to add the views inside the container control. This is the difference between UI5 and a Fiori app majorly. So then you will have view 1 inside, view 2, etc. So you can have multiple views inside this. So earlier we were adding views directly under the div tag of the index HTML. But here in this case you have a container control in the middle which is responsible for adding these views. That is the difference between UI5 and Fiori app technically, what we're going to do now. Okay, so let's go now and create and see where is this created. So we come back to our project, we go to index HTML and we look at the bootstrap. Here you can see the uses of SAP.m library. It is using SAP M. And on the other hand, you can see at the bottom, there is this app control. This is what your container control is. So we are adding the app control. So container, which will have view inside. Okay, this is what will have view inside. You can see here also we have given the initial view which will be loaded inside the container. And the ID of the view is ID main1. And just below this we are creating the object of the view. You can see we are creating object of the view. And this view we are adding in the pages aggregation of the app control. So this is your app control, the container control. In this we are adding the aggregation called pages by adding this page. Page is nothing but your view here. Okay, so you're adding this to the aggregation. So it's very, very important. There are two steps. Step 1, where you're telling which view to load in the app by default. Step 2, make the view aware to the app. If you do not do step 2, step 1, even though you're doing, it will not work. This is a very important step. So in next part, we are creating the object of the view. And then below this, we are actually adding the object aggregation. Add this object to pages aggregation of container. In this case, the container is app. Okay, so we are adding this to the app control. And then finally, the whole app as part of body of HTML. This is what exactly we've done. Again, this first line represents that where all my JavaScript resources are located. So any JavaScript resource which you're going to create will be inside this My Fiori app folder. That's what this line is indicating. So hope you understood this, how the structure changed as far as the mobile app is concerned. You always have a container control, and inside the container control you are going to add the view. So if I'll create more view, it is must that I have to add this, the number of views which I'm creating inside this pages aggregation. Fine. So great. Now we'll come back to the main view, and you can see here we always return an object of a page. Okay. Earlier we were directly returning the controls which we wanted to add. But now in this, we are actually going to return only the object of pages. Only the object of page control, remember. So in a mobile app now what happens is every view which you're creating should not directly return the control, it should return object of page. SAP.m.page. Okay, SAP.m.page is what we return, view 1 and view 2. That is what happens. Okay, so this is what we are doing. So let's return welcome to Fiori app, and I do not put right now any content inside this page. Okay, just returning a page object. Save this. We are done. Save this. Let's test this application. I didn't do anything. I just created a mobile app and just changed the title of my page. This page, what I'm returning from view 1, is being added in the app control. Over here, you can see, and that is the default view, default view which will be loaded in the app at the beginning. And this app I'm putting in the body of HTML. This is what I am doing. That's it, nothing else. So now let me run this. So right click. We did not made any change. We just made the change in the title of the page. That's it. So you should see an app being loaded with the title of a page, which we have added. So I say allow access. And let me run this in the browser. And voila, you can see there on your screen that system has loaded the app for you. The first title of the app is Welcome to Fiori app. That is what system is giving you. Welcome to Fiori app. This is what we have given as a title of the app, right? And that's what exactly now is coming over here. Great. That is what we wanted. And it is coming now. Welcome to Fiori app. So that's a very simple basic mobile application start point. So you can see it's a pretty nice mobile Fiori app is being available. You can run this in desktop, tablets and mobile device, all three places, because it's a mobile app, right? It's a mobile app. You can run it everywhere. Great. Now what next? We will go back and now we will just try to add some more content to this. So if you see what I'm doing here is just returning SAP M page title content. It looks very, very difficult. So let's remove this, return from here and create this as a new object, var o page, just to simplify this. So you can see we are creating a new object of a page which contains a title and a content aggregation, and then we're returning the object of the page. This is better. Yeah, it looks much better, right? You can see. Now you can easily understand the way old syntax used to work. So we used to create an object and return the object. So, but only difference is in a mobile app, you are always creating an object of a page. Let's create a button control. So can anybody tell me what will be the class for SAP button? What will be exactly the name of the class and the API for creating a button control? Anybody? Button control. What will be the class? sap.m.button. Perfect answer. So we will be using sap.m.button. Okay, great. New button control. So let's go and add this button control over here. So say var, same syntax guys, no difference in the syntax. obtn equals to new sap dot. This time you're going to use sap.m.button. Now you may ask me, Anubhav, why we are having same control in two different libraries. One is in SAP UI Commons.button and one is in SAP.m.button. Why is it like this? You remember we saw the button control in UI Commons as well. The reason for this is initially when SAP UI5 was designed, it was designed to be in a way that SAP UI Common will always be used for desktop based applications. But SAP.m will be used for mobile applications, the smart device applications. So this button related to mobile application will have additional features like support for touch. You see that in desktop devices that point of time there was no support for touch. Desktop devices devices are not supported by touch. Now recently there are also touch laptops available, but at that point of time it was not there. Also there is no support for swiping, zooming in, zooming out, right? These functionalities were not possible with desktop based devices. So when the libraries were separated, it was decided that there will be additional support for sap.m which sense the touch. Okay, but as far as the common controls are concerned, those controls will not be sensible for the touch. That is the reason why we have this duplicacy of control, and later point of time SAP has mentioned that now the whole library related to commons is obsolete. Don't use that library. Anything you want to develop, always go with Fiori. Always go with Fiori. Don't go with SAP UI Commons. But they cannot remove the library completely because some people already started using it and they built the apps. But now it's deprecated. So any new development which is happening should be with SAP.m. Okay. So now here we have SAP.m.button, and again you can see on the right the properties for this control. Text property, type property, width property, icon property, all these properties are available. And you can see there's a tap event. Tap is for touch. This was for touch. Later on this tap event was also deprecated, and they've told only use press event. Press will support both click and the touch. Okay, so we have to just support press event and it will work with both all the devices. We don't have to separately put for tap the event handler. Okay, so now we come here, put curly braces and put a text here, and I say go to next. And now we will put the event handler as we used to do, which is the press event for the button oController dot click me. Yeah, that's my event handler name. I will just go ahead and put it in the controller, the event handler, click me function, and I will be writing here console.log click me event trigger. Yeah. Now what I'm going to do is also I will create another view and I will show you the navigation between these two views. So basically we have an app control. Inside this I have already created a view 1, and then I'll be also creating a view 2. So this is a new view which I'll be creating, view 2, and I will be adding this view 2 inside the container control. You cannot just create a view and then use it. You have to add this particular view inside the inside this control, inside your app control. This is must. If you don't do this, it will not work. You have to add your view to this control, this container control. That is must. And where do you do it? You do it using pages aggregation. So this view has to be added in the pages aggregation, and then only this container control can realize that there is a view which is my children, right? And then we will allow navigation from first view to second view and the second view to the first view. That is what we want to achieve, navigation between these two views. So we'll be having one button in each view. On click of these buttons, we will be navigating from one view to another view, one by one. Okay, that is what we are going to do. So let's go back, and now here what we're going to do is just test right now this event. If this event works with the button comes, I save it, come back to the UI and refresh my page. Oops, the button did not come. So can anybody tell me what is the problem? Why the button is not visible to me on the screen? Anybody? I have already created the button, but it is not visible on the screen. Perfect answer, Keshava. Keshava has got the right answer. It's nothing to do with the Bootstrap. Bootstrap already we have added sap.m. It's already there in the index.html, so there's no problem. The problem here is this button object which we created, we have not added it in the page control, in the page aggregation. You see content of the page is right now empty. There is nothing in the page content. So you have to add this button in the content of the page. That is when it will appear. Click on save button, come back and refresh the page, and voila, you see the button is now available on the screen. Yeah. Now I press F12 just to show you. Okay, let me come out of device mode, and now if I click on the button in the console, we are going to get the text which we have supplied. So click on the button and you can see click me event triggered, which means We have successfully connected our button with the event handler. Yeah, let's dock this window on the left, and we'll dock this window of our Eclipse on the left hand side. Great. So we'll dock these things left and right, hand to hand. I will now create another view. So right click, say new, other, and choose here SAP UI5 view. Say next, and I'll say view 2. It's a JavaScript view which I'm creating, and say finish. Great. So we got a second view and second controller associated to that. Let's go to this view 2. I also switch to the web perspective. Yeah. So I switch to the web perspective. And now you can see this view. I will also put a title here. Let's say this is second view. We are always returning an object of a page. Remember, in case of a mobile app, returning always an object of a page. And inside this content, we are going to add the content what we create. So I create another button here, var obtn. This is my second view where I'm creating a button. Same way, button, text property, and I say go back, comma, and now here we will also create an event for the button. Back is the event name, and let's use this in the controller. That code implementation will be done here. Let's come back, add this button to the content of the page. Perfect, save it. So we created two views, view 1 and view 2. Okay, and now it's time for us to navigate from one view to another view. So remember, when I click on the first view button, I am just throwing this in the console, but it's time for me to navigate from first view to another view. But even before that, before you navigate, it's important for you to add the second view inside the page. This is what I told you, right? You have to add your newly created view in the pages of the app. So app will know that there is a view called view 2 with me, right? This is very important. We did not do this yet. We have not created the object of the view. Also, we have not added the object to the pages of the container. These two steps we have missed right now. So let's do it. So I will come down, and here we just write down the comments, create view object, and make this aware to the container control, which is app. Okay, let's make it aware to the container control now. So let's say var page 2 equals to sap.ui.view. I'm creating a view object. So I will give an ID property first, and let me give the ID as Spider-Man as the view ID, and then the view name. View name should be the complete path of the view, where exactly view exists with respect to the resource folder. So my Fiori app is the folder name, dot view2 is the name of the view which I want to instantiate, and the type of the view here is the JavaScript view, ui.core.mvc.viewtype.js. That is what we have done. Now we will be adding this app.add-page. We have to add this to the aggregation of this. Page 2 is my view 2. Still, as you can see here, initial page which will be started with this app is ID main 1, which is your first view. You still did not change this. Of course, we have to start from the first page, which is main view, and from there we are going to navigate to the Spider-Man view and back and forth. Okay, so that is what our purpose is. So in order to navigate between the views, this app control is responsible. He is the parent of both the views. So parent will tell the child what they need to do, right? Just the way parents instruct their children's what they exactly need to do. This app is the parent for both the views. So this app needs to tell these views which view will come when. Just like parents will tell us, okay, the big brother has to go first, and then the sister, and then the small brother. Similarly, this app control is responsible. He's the parent. Okay, he has to tell which view should come when. So this is what we are going to make use of it. Now we will also give an ID to this app control. Say my app. Let's give an ID to this. So I've given an ID to this control called my app. We will be accessing this app object in the event handlers, and then we will be using the API for this. So this app control, just wanted to show you the API which is available with this app control. App dot, if you see the list of APIs, there is an API called to API. If you use this to API, it allows you to navigate from one view to another view. This is the API which you're going to use inside this app object. Okay, so let's save this and come back to our controller. So main view controller, and here we first go to access the object of the app, and then use app.toAPI to navigate to second view. These are all the steps. So everything what you're developing has to be developed step by step. Break down the requirement into actions. If you do that, you never fail. So of course, we have broken it down into pieces. Any big requirement you get, any small requirement or big requirement, break it down into pieces. That's the best way of development. What exactly you'll do step by step. Ask yourself. After that, put the code. Don't put the code directly. It will not work. Can anybody tell me, if I want to access the object of a control in SAP UI5, what is that I'm going to use now here? Anyone? In order to access the object of the control, what is that I'm going to use now? Who will answer? We have done this many times. Perfect answer, Teja. It's sap.ui.getcode.byid. Perfect answer. Shiva, you are wrong. You have put it correct with the intention, but the answer is wrong. So it is sap.ui.getcode. This is the API. Getcode is the API which gives you the object of runtime instance. In this, there is further API called byID. By B is small, ID, I is capital, and now my app is the ID of the app control which I put, and let's put it in an app object. You are now able to access this app object, and simple app.to is the API which you will now use to navigate to the second view. What's the ID of the second view? Anybody? What is the ID of my second view which I have created? Anybody? Perfect answer, Kaushik. It's Spider-Man. So that's the ID of my second view. I will place it here. I want to navigate to Spider-Man. An app already knows what is Spider-Man. If you come here to index.html, you can see this is the view which we created with ID Spider-Man. An app already knows about it. What is Spider-Man? Because we added this page to inside the app, right? If you wouldn't have done this part, app would not know what is Spider-Man. App knows the Spider-Man because we have added this page to the app. Yes. So save this. We will be able to see a navigation forth to the second view. Let's go and test this part, and remaining part we will implement later. Let's refresh. Watch carefully on my app. The moment I click on next button, voila, you can see it has reached to the second view. This is second view. You can see the title, and then you remember there's a back button which we coded is also available. But the moment I click on this back button, it's not working. Can anybody tell me what should I do to make this back button work? Anybody? What is that you will do at my place if you are at? What will you do to make this back button work? I want exact pseudocode. Return to main view. Where should I write this code? Where should I write this code for back button? Anybody? Where should I write this code? Controller, perfect. Controller of view 2. See, there are many controllers here. You need to be precise, guys. That's the major problem with interviews also. When somebody asks us question in interview, we are not precise. We just try to see, try to give an answer which doesn't suit. You have to give a precise one-line answer. That's what everybody expects. So view 2 controller, we come. Here is the back button method, event handler. We will do the same stuff here. First access the object of the app. So var app, you can name it anything, junk. Any name you can give it, no problem. sap.ui.getCore by ID, and now here my app is the ID of the control. Case sensitive, remember my app A is capital is what I put. Junk.to, and I say the ID main one. That's the ID of the main view which is assigned to the first view. Save this. Let's come back and refresh the page to test if the back and forth navigation works. So that's my mobile app. I click on next button, it goes to the next screen, and now I click on the back button and it comes back to the first page. So thanks to the Fiori that I am able to navigate from first screen to the next screen. Wow, amazing. Yeah, great. Now also let's look at the documentation for this control, sap.m.app control. Pretty simple. Just go to your API documentation. So in SAP UI5 SDK. Let's go to SAP UI5 SDK and we will check the API documentation for the same. So let's come to the API documentation. And here we will put API documentation and look for app control. sap.m.app control, here it is. And you can see the parent class for this is nav container. Okay, parent class is nav container. So let's come down. Do you see the app.to API here? Let me search for to API. Do you see a to API? No, we don't see the list of methods a to API. Can anybody tell me how can I see the API to which I've just used? It's not visible here. Superclass. Let's go to superclass, nav container, and scroll down into the APIs. Yes, voila, you can see here. This is your to API which you just used. And here you're giving the ID of the page. You can also give the transition name, guys. Transition name identifies how the animation should work when you are switching between the views. Okay, there are different transition names, let me tell you. So with these transition names you can use to navigate, to show the user different types of effects while transiting. Right now it's a slide effect. Okay, it's a slide effect which is by default set. So horizontal movement of the page. That's what the slide effect is. So there are other effects like fade, flip, and show. So let me use the flip effect. I go for the flip effect and show you how the flip effect works. So from going back or maybe coming to the second view, if I want to use the flip effect, I can just put here Spider-Man, flip. Okay, that's my effect I'm using now, flip effect. Save this. Let's see what happens with the flip effect. You will see a different transition. You will not see a slide transition. Instead, you will see the whole view will flip and second view will appear after flipping. Watch carefully. I click on the next button and you can see it flipped and it reached to the second view. When I say go back, it slides because the default effect is slide for the second view. And when I say again, it flipping. So now it's flipping the views. It's not the slide effect. What an amazing experience. So just by looking at the API documentation, you can do a lot yourself. You don't need any trainer because you all are expert now, because you all know how to read this documentation. See how much documentation they have given for this small method too. What it means for every property which is available here. Yeah, which is available here. Great. So that's how you can check the documentation. Everything is available here in this guide. There is a separate documentation available only for controls. You have to click on Explore button. It will launch the SAP UI5 SDK for mobile devices. And there you can see separate documentation for all the mobile controls. There are 212 controls in total in SAP.m library, which you can make use of them. And here you can just go to one of the control, let's say button, and you can see sample for the button, the properties of this control, what exactly every property means, what it does, what is its data type, you know, all these details are available in, and then you can see association. You can also see the events. You can see the tap event has been marked obsolete. It's deprecated. So don't use the tap event. Instead, you can use always the press event. It will support both the touch and the click. Yeah. Now you can see the methods as well here. There is this parent class called control class, which you all know. sap.ui.core.control class is the parent class for all the major classes. So you can see these properties are available for all the controls. All the controls, these properties are available because this is the super class for all the UI5 classes. There's a super class. Great. So you can also come back to samples and look at the example for different buttons. So you can see this is a button, this is a button, this is a button, this is a button, how they have changed these colors and all. You can see at the bottom also there are some buttons. There's a toolbar and there's this button over here. If you want to see the code for this, XML view is what they prefer. So you can just click on this top right corner. It will switch to the XML view of this particular page coding, and you can see it's more declarative in nature, simple than JavaScript view. You can see they just created a custom header in the page and they're creating a toolbar. Inside the toolbar they are adding a button. Yeah, it's more declarative. XML views are more declarative. They're easy to understand. They are not as difficult the JavaScript views are, but we have taken the difficult path already. We are all learning JavaScript views, not the XML views, because they are more easy. And you see every control what is listed here, you will see XML examples. Already you will see an XML examples. So you have lots of material available with you to learn with XML views, right? So why do you need again same thing for me to repeat? I will also, what I will do like other trainers, I will go to this code, I will copy this piece of code, paste it in Eclipse and show you, hey man, see the output, your view is coming. I don't do that because you all can do it. You don't need a training for these things to learn. Just copy paste. You can also understand, even a kid can understand. It's very basic, very simple. There's this subheader, then inside this there's a toolbar spacer, and then these buttons are available. I will also show you how to read this. It's easy, don't panic. I will show you how to read XML views. Similarly, you can also convert it to a JavaScript view on your own. We will see that, we will discuss. Okay, so now you can see here this accept reject button in a different color. How this has been done, let's switch and just come to the button code where you see the reject button. You see there's this type property what they're using called reject. Yeah, type property is what they're using to make it red. So we can also do that in JavaScript view. So we saw how it's been done in XML view. It's simple. Let's come back, and now if you want to make the button green or red, it's pretty simple. Just go back to the button, and this is my button over here, and I just say type equals to what was the type? Reject. So that's what the property I'll put. Save this. Let's come back and refresh the page. You should see the button in the red color. That's the type of the button. The moment I put it as reject, you can see it turn into red color. Now, one more important point here, the color makes a significant impact on the UI. Every color has its semantic meaning. A red color indicates that it's something bad, something which is failing, something which is not probably good, something which user should carefully thought of. Green color means it's okay, it's a preferred answer. Okay, so and the yellow color is kind of used for warning. So these colors are also having semantic meanings as far as SAP UI5 is concerned. Okay, now that's about the button. You can also put an icon. So let me put an icon here and I say SAP-icon. You all know from where these icons come. So I say action is an icon which I want to use here. Put comma, save this, refresh, and you can see this icon comes up with this button now. So click on the button, it takes you, does the same thing, but just the look and feel you have changed it just by adding a nice icon and the color of the button as error, as reject. Yeah. Now we all have seen the mobile apps in our life, and typically for navigation in any of the mobile app, let me just squeeze it to actually make it look like a device. So now you can see it actually looks like a device only. So now typically in a mobile device for navigation, we don't put the buttons in the middle. We put them somewhere on the top, right? So a navigation button should be somewhere on the top, like over here. So how can we achieve the same? How can we do that? So it's pretty simple. So let me show you again the page aggregation, the page object. So we will come back to SDK and search for page, and you can see here the page, and there are 6 examples for a page with a toolbar and bar. Let's go with the first one, and you can see this is how a page looks like. You have this button on the top, you have this title, and then you have a button on the top right corner. So I want a button like this only, this share button. I want similar to this button. I have one more button in my code. So how they have done it, how they did it. Let's flip the view and see the code. So if you see, they have something called a page. A page has property called title, class, show nav button property, and then they have aggregation called header content. Inside the header content aggregation, they are having a button added. So if we also do this, we will also get a button on the top right corner in our page, in our main view page. So header content is an aggregation. Inside this we have a button control added inside the aggregation. You can also come and check the documentation about this aggregation property. So you can see this is all the aggregation what we have for the page control. So content is an aggregation which is to add the content of the page which we have already used. Right. Similarly, there is another called header content aggregation, which is again you can add multiple controls inside. But as far as right now the requirement is concerned, I just want to add one button in the header content. So let's use this aggregation for the page header content. So I will come to my first view, which is main view, and you can see this my page object. It has already a content aggregation edit. I will also add a header content. And I will add same my O button inside whatever I've created. Same button I'm adding guys to this as well. And I'm moving actually this button out of the content. I'm keeping the page content empty, just keeping it in the header content, this button. Save this. Let's come back and refresh the page. And voila, you see the button shifted from the content to the header content. Yeah. But it doesn't look nice. Okay. It actually doesn't look nice because you have this text over here which makes it look little dirty. So let's remove this text from here. I can just comment out by /. And I also don't want the type to be reject type. I just want an icon and the press. Save this. Let's come back and refresh. Wow, beautiful. You can see how does this button looks like. The moment I click on the button, It is flipping and navigating me to the second view. Yeah, it's navigating me to the second view. Perfect. Can anybody tell me what will be the better idea for this as well? For second view, what is that you would like to do to provide a good user experience? What is that you will think we should do to actually provide a good user experience? Okay, so this button you want to move it on the top, somewhere like here. Yes, right? So you can see also the standard Fiori app, how it is being done. So if you come here to one of the sample, let's go to the sample here, and you can see this nice back button on the top, right? This back button is there on the top. You can see here also in SDK they are using this back button on the top. So we probably want to add a button on the second screen like this. So how to do that? Let's check in the code, switch to the view, and I think this property will help us. So show nav button equals to true. The moment I do this, I should get a back button by default added on the top. Show nav button. This is a property of the page control. So Boolean value is assigned to this property. So let's go ahead and do this. Show nav button. But where will you write the code? Where will you write the code for this button? That also we need to see, which we will see in the documentation. So first is just go to the second view and put this property called show nav button. Oops. Do you think am I putting it at the right place? Anybody? Do you think am I putting this at the right place? Is this in property for the button control? No. So which control is this property is used for? Show nav button is a property for page control, not for button control. Perfect. So it's for the page control because we are displaying a page over there. Show nav button equals to true. I think it's Boolean value, so we don't need a string value. It's a Boolean value. I will put it as true. Save this. Let's see, do we get a back button now as far as the second view is concerned. So I will come back and just refresh. Wow, superb. You can see there's this back button now available on the top. But oops, when I click on this, nothing is happening. Can anybody tell me what is that I need to do to make this back button work? Anyone? What do you think should be done to make this back button work? But we did not create any button object, right? We did not create any button object. We used a standard property which makes this button available automatically. We have to see where is the event. Yes, we have to see what is the event which will trigger when user click on the button. Can anybody tell me in the documentation of SAP M page which event do you see will be used now to attach an event handler which makes the back work? So I come to the navigation, I come to the events of this particular control. Nav button press, that's the only event what we see. So this event is fired when nav button is pressed. Perfect. Let's go and use this. Again, it's an event of page control, not the button control. So let's come back here, put comma, nav button press, o controller dot back. We don't need this button anymore. I comment it out, save this. We should be able to see a typical mobile app with the navigation capability. Refresh the page. On the first screen, you will see actually on the first screen that, oops, what's going wrong? There's something which has gone wrong now because we have done a mistake. We still have this O button added here and system cannot recognize this O button. Yes, thank you. Saved, comment it out, save it, refresh. Okay, great. You can see now again it's loading. You can see this button on the top. Click on this, takes me to the second view, and here I have a back button. Click on the back button, it takes me back to the first view. Yeah. Now some people may ask me question, Anubhav, why not this back will also work? It will also work, guys. I will teach you a concept called SAP router. Router will make this browser back button also work. Okay, right now it will not work. If you feel right now it will work, it won't. Okay, but this can also be worked out, and that's a unique advantage of SAP Fiori over WebDin Pro. Those who worked with WebDin Pro, you go and check, you can never support the browser back and forth button with WebDin Pro. I guarantee you. I don't know if you have experienced or not. In WebDin Pro, you can never work, you can never handle the browser back button. Never ever, never. The moment you use this back button in BSP or WebDin Pro, it will not work. Those who are working with CRM, PLM, SRM, with WebDin Pro and BSP applications, they all already know that browser back button cannot be supported with those technologies. But SAP Fiori breaks this rule, and SAP Fiori allows you to also work with these browser buttons because that's what user is more friendly with, right? But what if you are not using in a browser? If you are using this application in a mobile device, of course you will not have browser buttons. So that is the reason we have added our own buttons in the app for navigation. That is the reason, right? If it can support browser navigation button, why not to use that only? But still, sometimes this app can be used in a mobile device. There you will not have the browser buttons actually, right? So in that case, you have to have, it's a guideline that you have to have navigation buttons inside your app as well. Okay, a great user experience. You can see navigation between two different screens. Yeah. So what we learned today, we learned how to create a basic simple SAP Fiori app. What is the difference in the structure of a Fiori app as compared to UI5 application? What is the SDK which we use? How do we read through the XML views to convert it to a JavaScript view? And we saw the basic control called page and the button control along with the navigation feature of SAP Fiori app. So that's it for the today's class. Any questions before we close? So there is a lot to come. We just started Fiori today. There's a lot to come, guys. It is just the beginning. You may have hundreds of questions in your mind. Yes.
Anubhav, so do we need to have the regular back button in the browser as well as this one when we develop the any Fury-based apps?
Yes, yes. That's a recommended guideline. That's a recommended guideline. What if user is
So
using it
both we
as a
should.
mobile app?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why. It's a guideline. But right now, I have not showed you how to use this back button, how to handle it. Today, if you click, it won't work. It takes you to the empty Google page, my previous page. It won't work. Ideally, it should have taken me to the view one when I would have clicked. That is not possible today because I did not cover the concept of router. And why I did not cover? Because I did not teach you first the fundamentals. My idea is to teach you step by step, and you all believe me, all the concepts which we learned till date all are useful, whether be the aggregation, whether be the property, whether be the JavaScript coding, whether be the style, whether be the object creation, whether be the models, whether be the views, instantiation using the data models, everything, binding, everything is useful. You will see from next class when we get into more depth of Fiori, we will use extremely high level of coding, and that all uses the concept of formatters, fragments, models, bindings, and everything will be used here. So don't think like UI5 is not important, Fiori is important, so why should I focus on the missed classes? That is equally important. You will see a big lag in your knowledge if you do not understand the old concepts what we have covered so far. That was the baseline, that was the fundamental for you, and now in Fiori I will make use of those concepts, binding concepts especially, and the model concepts to show you amazing Fiori experience building. Yeah, so please practice. You got to remember it. The best way to remember is start the video recording, take a notebook in your hand, note down every concept, remember the funda fox, take a printout of PPT. If you are traveling in the bus, carry the notebook, carry the PPT printout with you, just go through them every day. It will concrete your concepts. See, when you build a house, it cannot become so much of stable in one day. You have to apply the concrete and daily put water on the concrete. That's when it gets strength. And that's what you need to also do it if you really want to, make use of this training. Of course, you will remember these concepts for 10 days, 20 days, but for a longer time, you again and again have to come back to my videos. Why? Because you did not iterate over it. You have to iterate over these concepts. Do not be overconfident. Even I forget many things. You remember in case of this global variable, I could not show it to you in 2 times. Then I looked back my notes and I found out, oh, I did a mistake. And then I came back to all of you and showed you that this is what I did mistake. And you see, that's what happens when you are not in touch, when you are not working every day with the same thing. Yeah. So you have to iterate over things. On that note, it's a wrap on today's class. Let's meet tomorrow at the same time. Have a nice day and goodbye.